Who is the modern day Reagan who's a conservative within Hollywood that has some say, that's got some brass, that's got some influence that could actually expose some of the insanity that's taking place in an influential industry like Hollywood? Is there somebody
You're
like
talking
Reagan
about
today?
modern day. Who is that?
Today.
Who is that
I want to know
person?
who that is today.
Well, I think Hollywood is not necessarily, is becoming not the center of filmmaking. You've really in the last 2 decades, I think it started happening. It started moving away. What's going on in Georgia, for instance? I did a movie in Georgia. You know, they started this with tax incentives and stuff like that to get people to come there. But they've got a real industry going there. I did a film there a couple of months ago, and there was 196 different film productions going on at the same time. They've built studios for it, and so it's moving out. The faith films, which I think are really starting to really find their legs. Movies that actually speak to audiences. You know, I think people don't go to movies because there's no movie to see that they really relate to, in a sense, that hits them. And because people don't go to movies to see things, they go to movies to feel things, and they want to relate and identify with them. I did as a kid, you know, it was wonderful. But it's moving out of LA, and LA, like, well, let's take faith films. Hollywood doesn't even know how to track them as far as what how much money they're going to make. Like 2 weeks before a film's a weekend, and you have like 6 films coming out, they start to do these tracking about how much it's going to make at the box office. And I was in a film, I Can Only Imagine, it was called. And thank you. And, they tracked it, but it wasn't going to make even $2 million that weekend. And it wound up making 17, and they're scratching their heads. And then all of a sudden, all the studios are getting these kind of representatives to go out and make faith movies, to tell them, instruct them on how to do it, because they want to break into the market. But, they're after the money, not after really what's behind the film as far as what they're about.
So is it fair to? I mean, I can only imagine. That's the one with the song of "Mercy Me," right? I can only imagine.
Yeah, right.
It's a great song.
Yeah, Bart.
Did you watch Jesus Revolution?
Yeah,
I thought it was amazing.
Really
the story
good.
of Greg Laurie.
Yeah.
At first, when I watched it, I didn't know what the movie was about. I thought they were mocking Jesus, and that's what it was. Then when my kids are putting it up, we sat there watching. I'm like, what a great movie! Phenomenal story.
Yeah.
It was about, and then all out of nowhere, I get a text from Greg Laurie saying, "Hey, thanks for watching it. I'm glad you enjoyed it." And but going back to it, do you think eventually, like when you see right now what's going on with Disney, right? Bob Iger. I don't know if you've ever done business with Bob Iger or not. Maybe, have you ever done business with Bob over the years?
Well, I may have, but I wasn't in the room with him.
Okay.
My agents did business.
I got it. Have you ever had interaction with Bob? Or
Not really, no.
Okay. So Bob, CEO Disney, he retires at the top. Disney's worth $368 billion. Comes back, him and Bob Chapek are trying to make Disney work. That whole Jacqueline Kennedy story behind closed doors, and valuation drops $200 billion. That's a lot of money to be lost for a company. And then every time you go watch a Disney movie nowadays with the kids, my son, the first thing the 12-year-old will say says, "Here we go again. Is this going to be one of those movies?" So my 12-year-old checks before we go and watch the movies, because he doesn't want his 8-year-old sister to watch a Disney movie that's a little bit out of whack. Mm-hmm. So he's not being proactive about it, and he'll come to me. We're in a movie. My son will come to me and say, "Hey, you have to be the responsible father right now. Take your kids out of this room. This is not a." That's literally what my son will tell me. Take your kids out of this place because this is not good for your kids. So, do you think they're sitting there? I can only imagine. This thing's not going to do nothing but $2 million, $17 million. We got to all become Christians and get to make money. Like, do you think money and capitalism is going to force these guys to go back to being reasonable and logical, or are they going to stay delusional?
I think they'll try, because there's a market there. But that market is really out in the middle of the country. I mean, the Irwin brothers, who are so good at this, they were directed and produced The Jesus Revolution and I Could Only Imagine. And they, because they're already in the community and they have a base there, and they're making films that people want to see. There's a hunger out there, I think, for themes and stories that that people can relate to, that fit their lives and aspire to be. And there's that whole faith community, and aspirational within that, with American values and the way we live our lives. Who we are, and instead of having, being told what to feel, what to think, it's happening. It's slow, but it's coming.
So I like to read between the lines and see kind of where you're going with it to see if I'm improving in that area. Are you kind of alluding to the fact that there could be a possibility that Bob Iger could be maybe becoming a Christian and becomes like a Pastor Iger, like some kind of, and he changes Disney and he starts saying we got to go back to what Disney was built for kids, or we don't believe in that level of miracles?
Well, I would welcome Bob Iger if he became a Christian into the community, but I think the center is going to move. I think it just feels like, if I was an actor starting out now, I wouldn't go to Hollywood. I would go to Georgia, because that's where they're going to be hiring the smaller parts that I could get as an actor starting out, right? They're not going to pay to bring those smaller roles from LA. So that's where I could, get a start in the business.
Wow, if you were an actor, you wouldn't go to LA, you'd go to Georgia.
Yeah.
Tyler Perry.
So the center is moving. You don't necessarily have to be in LA in order to make a movie anymore.
The center is moving. The center is moving. So not the left, but the center is moving out of California. Is that what, like Mark Wahlberg
just like
moved
everything
to Vegas?
else moving out of California?
Well, I mean, listen. I try to avoid making fun of California on my podcast because I don't like to do it. It's a rule I follow.
Yeah.
I don't like to make fun of California because I have a lot of respect for them.
I'm not making fun of, just stating facts.
In these uncertain times, if there's anything we need people to believe the future looks bright. So if you've heard about me saying this mission to you, we're on a mission to get 1 million people to wear this gear, and this is what we're doing. If you buy one of these hats, there's a category of buying one hat, getting the second one free. If you haven't yet worn this gear publicly, go ahead and test it out. Buy some of the gear, wear it in public, and see how many people will stop by and say, you also watch Value Timmy? You also follow PBD Podcast? I do too. Place your order. Go to vtmerch.com, click on the link above or below, place your order, and represent the VT and the PBD Podcast gear.